So, Mammoth take game number 1. Now, last week, Mammoth take game number 1. Direwolves take game number 1. Last week, I was with Mammoth player Juves. We were painting.
Yes.
It was spectacular. Juves was actually telling me that this was all part of the strategy. That
Oh,
Mammoth's plan is to put forth, he wanted to present the image of such a soft, artistic, gentle painter that he would lull Direwolves into a false sense of security and then turn around and smash them.
And do you think it paid off?
Well, I think it's going to plan so far.
Okay.
But I'm predicting a two games to Mammoth coming up. But it is very exciting because I am a big fan of Jews and I'm also a big fan of Direwolves. So I'm excited to see what's coming up next. Now, obviously, you are not a professional esports broadcaster.
Absolutely not.
You're not an esports player. You're not even an esports host.
No, none of this is true. I play the game.
Yes.
I play with hangers. I am Silver 5, so, you know, not exactly the worst, and a fair cry from Challenger.
But I will say, you are sitting on my couch, which means you have to answer my questions. So I will say, as a support player, what do you think they could have done better in that game?
Go to hell.
You're the analyst. Okay, you're on the analyst couch.
As a Silver 5 support player, Kuden, congratulations on picking Brom. A great support choice there. From my experience of Silver 5 solo queue, what you could have done at one point is start to blame the jungle. Now, what you want to do is tell everybody that the jungle is inting. Then you want to try and just go all in and see if the ADC comes with you. If he doesn't and you get killed, blame the ADC and then just run it up middle for 30 minutes. After that, the team will realize that you are the alpha. They will fall in behind you and you will win. That is a foolproof solo queue strategy. It never fails. And one day soon, I will be back in Honor 3.
I think that, look, that's excellent advice. Can I add a piece as well? Because
yeah, sure.
I feel like my input could be valuable here because we let's say we play in the same shallow pool.
Yes, the same. Same swamp.
Yeah, my advice here is if you are getting to the point where it looks like you may be losing the game,
that's a critical moment.
It is, because that's where it separates the men from the boys, it separates the girls from the women, it separates the Nick from the Jews. I would just Alt F4. And that way, you can't actually be there for when the Nexus gets blown up. So therefore, you cannot be blamed for anything that happened then. You didn't lose the game. You were on the losing side while it was happening, but then ultimately, you weren't responsible.
And never forget that if you try something and it doesn't work, just have an air of like ironic disaffectation and be like, oh, I meant to do that. Whatever. I hate this game.
Absolutely.
And then just call everybody a...
well, whatever you want,
whatever.
Really. It doesn't really matter.
I do feel like the show has kind of... It's changed, Nick. Look, we had one of the better minds for the show on last week during a very good series. He then proceeded to paint
wasted opportunity.
Gragas.
Yeah.
And now we have,
hold on, get it right.
You know,
Super Saiyan Gragas.
Super Saiyan Gragas.
Yeah.
Now we have one of the funnier people on the show, and we're sitting here breaking down what was a very one-sided, ugly game of League of... Look, I don't want to tell you how to do your job, mate, but...
I'm just saying, I don't book the guests. I just talk to who they put next to me.
Well, it's too late. I'm here and you can't kick me out.
But the thing that I am excited about having you here is that you run the Dragon Friends podcast.
Yeah.
And so this is a Dungeons & Dragons podcast.
Good. This is better.
Who don't know. And this is, and the reason that I wanted you here this week is that it's all about storytelling.
Yeah.
And that Riot are releasing some videos over the last week that's focused much more on the lore of the game and the storytelling in the game, which hasn't always been something that Riot was necessarily that invested in.
Yeah, so because I played League for years. I think Wukong had just come out when I started playing. And that was back before the universe part of the website was built. And I think, and I might be getting some of this wrong, but basically lore was just for champions and it didn't really coincide. They weren't really interested in how champions interacted. And now there's this universe section of the League of Legends site and these, you know, so we're learning about these new countries, Demacia, the Freylord, these twin cities of Piltover and Zorn, and they're starting to think about like how the world works together. And for me, who is like a dungeon master who has to sort of build stories, I go deep dork for that kind of stuff. I'm enjoying it a lot. And I'm not sort of running out, and I've had to play with the map. I'm not running out and reading heaps, but through osmosis, through watching music video clips, through even just the things that the champions say, the unique lines that they have when they see each other, you start to get a sense of the world building. And I think that's kind of a cool new direction for Riot.
And so something that they've been doing, obviously, with the lore is not like you said, they're not putting out a book that's like, hey, here's an encyclopedia of everything you need to know.
Which would suck.
They're drip feeding it out, which is something that you do also in a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, where you go as we continue throughout this, we're going to find more pieces, learn more about this world.
Sometimes very bad dungeon masters will start like with, okay, here is 4 hours of lore, and now roll a dice. Okay, that's all the time we have. But yeah, that's a terrible way to do it.
And so, what is it about, say, on the new Runeterra map, or as you've been clicking through, what is something that you went, oh, that's an interesting piece of information that maybe players don't know about?
Okay, so like a good example. This isn't from the map, but I mean, I was interested to look at it in the map because this has been something that the universe site has already been talking about. Is you've got these ideas of Piltover and Zorn, these two cities that are high-tech cities that hate each other, and you have these kind of underclass sort of punks like Jinx and Echo who come from Zorn, and then you have these high society types like Camille and Caitlin who come from Piltover, and there's obviously this decision that's been made, which is, well, two cities that hate each other is interesting, but one city literally being on top of the other city is much more interesting. So this idea that you have, Piltover is like the elite society of magic technomancers who live these lives of privilege, and the sweat of the sort of chem scum that live underneath its Zorn is what's actually keeping their society going. That's cool, and that means that there could be game modes or maps based on that. There could be more champions that deal with those two things, and that kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm a dork. I like that stuff.
No, I love that stuff as well, because I think it's the kind of thing that you don't necessarily get at face value when you play a game like League. It's like the story is actually the least important part of the thing, because there's so much to learn that you need to get just proficient in the game, but that sort of thing ends up being sacrificed. But there's actually, you forget how much stuff is actually stacked in there, and it gives you a better understanding of the game you're actually playing.
Yeah, and it's like Game of Thrones, or it's like, I think Marvel, like the continuity universe. It's like, yeah, you can have movie after movie after movie, but wouldn't it be more interesting if you sort of got a sense of how they work together? Similarly, champ releases, game updates, graphical updates, you're just learning little bits more here and there, and there's still, I think, lots that I don't understand about the League of Legends world, and I look forward to sort of that slowly seeping in.
Yeah, no, it's exciting to see that stuff. Are you guys at the desk, are you lore nerds? Bryce, I don't think you are as much as potentially Jake.
I have existed in League of Legends for a number of years. Pro player for like 5, now casting, and I know nothing.
Existed is a good word. He kind of just fell in one day and has not really done all that much exploration so far, apart from a couple of Thresh games. However, I am a big lore nerd.
Oh.
I absolutely, Garen is, to me, I love him so much.
You can't say I'm a big lore nerd and then just pick the big meathead guy with a sword.
But you don't know. But you don't know the lore
I don't
behind
know
it.
the lore, but that is one of the least interesting.
Let me judge you on a topic I have no idea about. Let me just do that real quick.
Oh, Bryce, you just got the colder shoulder then.
But my question here, Bryce, is, and this is what I think, how they sort of sneak it in. Who is Garen's biggest enemy?
I have no idea. Maybe
Age. The answer is age.
The answer is a lack of
Darius.
mirrors.
Yeah, like the new skins. Yeah, Darius. There you go.
And that's the kind of thing that through quests, and they've made that really clear. That's what I mean.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
You're a lore nerd, dude.
Yes.
You played the quest. Where would you be from? Here we go.
Oh.
You're from Piltover.
I don't know.
Bandle City.
Does that make me a yordle?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
I'm taller than all of you. Maybe not Nick.
Nah, I reckon you're from Piltover, high society kind of type. I'm more of a Zorn guy myself. However, I think we are about to get it.
# Occupy Piltover.
Potentially game number 2. No. Maybe not. Okay, we're not ready yet. Let's keep talking about it.
Here's my thing. When you were talking about the fact that the God King event that happened.
Yeah.
The thing that does for me is that, as something that I had zero understanding of before I went into, when I choose one of those champions, when you come up against them in lane, normally it's just like, oh, this is just whoever they pick. But there's some innate new tension there, and that anything that gets me more invested in the thing that I'm doing, therefore kind of makes me play a bit better. So I think that's the strength of learning all this stuff.
And there's also like unique voice lines. I was watching a video last week when the Akali rework was coming out, and she has a unique voice line for something, not just for about 40 different characters, but then she has unique voice lines for what she says if she sees someone from Noxus, what she says if she sees someone who is also from Ionia. And all of that just makes the game, I'm not going to say that it's by any means the most important part of the game, but it just gives you enough interest to go and try another champion to learn something new.
But you certainly do get to see all the racism inherent in all the characters when they start arguing with each other.
Oh,
we'll throw
they
it back
hate each other.
to the desk for game number 2.
Thank you very much. We are about ready to get into game number 2 of Direwolves versus Mammoth. I want the Akali rework out so badly.
Do you?
Yeah.
You're an Akali player?
I was a huge Akali player.
Oh.
Wes Rice was like everyone's idol
Yeah.
when League of Legends first came out.
I agree. I 100% agree.
He had the best montages. He was like, he would play Akali everywhere, and he was a gun.
Akali is also just one of the coolest champions, like, to watch. Obviously, I'm not a lore nerd, but I don't, like, in terms of gameplay, like, she was just such a fun, exciting champion, so maybe you're absolutely right. And
triple dashes, invisibilities, and resets.
Yep.
What else do you want in a champion? Not to mention the fact that she was disgustingly OP when I first started playing the game. It's going to be Kindred, Nocturne, Zoe banned away, Aatrox, as well as Morgana Rakan taken off the board. Now they grab the Pyke first pick.
Yeah.
It's going to be Swain, Orianna locked in.
And this is interesting already, of course. 2 jungle bans now on blue side for Mammoth. They can invest more target bans into Shernfire. They take away the Nocturne, they take away the Kindred that he played last week, and it seems like a lot of teams have settled on this sort of bottom lane tier list for supports. Morgana and Rakan absolutely at the top, but when most teams are either at least banning one away, Direwolves in this instance ban away both, Pyke is the next hot thing.
And it's going to be another Gragas game for Jubes. He's going to run it back, even though it wasn't the most promising. Jace. He fights for a brighter tomorrow, Bryce.
Yeah, he
is
does.
being the hover right now.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed that you can just bust out a voice line like that. Are you a big Jace player as well?
So
Is that his chance to, like, lock in noise?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I played too much jungle Jace when it first came out. Because I thought a champion that could clear in melee form, which you can.
Yep.
And then just, you know, acceleration gate, run in with ranged and just start popping people with red buff. I was like, how can that not be a good jungler?
Those are the most annoying ganks when Ezreal had his brief stint as a jungler, when he just ease in and is just auto-attacking you with red buff and there's almost nothing you can do. That is super tough. And this is a pretty standard comp from the Direwolves, as we see. Talk about Jace, very weird from Mammoth so far, but Swain, very flexible. Now with all of these 3 locked in, it's definitely going to be going towards King in the bottom side, and Orianna Mundo just staple picks here.
It's kind of the comp that the Chiefs ran against Order last week.
Yeah, it is.
Very tanky.
Yep.
Obviously, Orianna wasn't there, but it's the same kind of flavor of, you know, persistent shields, big, meaty front line. It's going to be probably a double threat comp as well, unless Shern can find another threat to take into the jungle.
Yep, you expect so, and I feel like last time we saw Biopanther play Mundo, he was falling a little bit behind in the laning phase, and then one cheeky team fight, and he was just the biggest tank you've ever seen in your life.
He demonstrated every aspect of Mundo.
Yes, all in one game.
Yeah, the useless Mundo that feels like he does nothing, and then the unkillable Mundo, and then the Mundo, because Mundo is one of those champions, and it feels like he gets defensive items and then does more damage.
Yep.
It makes no sense. There's nothing in his kit that suggests that that would be the case. Cleavers do percentage health damage from you.
Yep.
But all of a sudden, if he has a Warmogs and he hit you with a cleaver, it just looks like it does more. I don't know what it is.
It absolutely does. Xin Zhao talking about carry junglers and can be an option here. I feel like Kane would be a very weird look-in. Hecarim did get banned away from Mammoth, so they have the same train of thought. A Vi lock-in would be a huge throwback. Look, if he's already split pushing game number 1 and he goes back to the Vi, you know, I back it. Oh.
Last second change to the Trundle. I thought it was going to happen, as
He
you
was
said.
gobsmacked.
Hecarim Talia, as well as Darius and Gnar banned away, and it's going to be Karthus picked up, and a Gangplank run back for Chippies.
Yeah, this is a big deal here. Gangplank into the Mundo. Fares pretty well when you have a damage threat like the Trundle. The dive pressure is always going to be there. Mash, once again, goes back to the Karthus. I feel like he's played the most Karthus across the board in the OPL.
Is it going to be Mashes? Is it going to be Reminds?
I feel like it's going to be Karthus in the bottom lane. He doesn't have Smite, though, which kind of leads me to believe. Yeah, okay, so it's definitely going to be Mash as soon as he picks up the Smite. Go for Runic and then go into your traditional build.
Cuppers goes for Soraka.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Very good when you have a big beefy frontline like the Trundle, like the Mundo. They get a whole lot of value from something like the Soraka. In lane, I can kind of see it. Star Call is a pretty potent poke tool, and then Karthus, when he just is going to be skittle bombing the Swain the entirety of the laning phase, the heals can be pretty nice.
Not only that, Karthus doesn't really have a dash built into his kit, so if you start trying to skittle run someone down, a well-timed Silence Field really will ruin that day.
And not to mention, when you look at Mammoth's composition, you have Poke from the Karthus. Obviously, the ultimate from Soraka kind of negates a little bit of the Karthus ulti as well, but you have Poke from Jace and then Poke from Chippies in the gangplank. Soraka does very well, healing you back up, and Juves, this is kind of a niche matchup that only support players will think about, but Gragas into Soraka, unless you get onto the Soraka, is super tough, because it doesn't even matter if you E-flash into the ulti. The silence field can always come down, and it can come down instantly and just deny any form of engage, so I feel like Cupcake has a lot of agency here to ruin the lives of Mammoth.
And I feel like Cupcake came in with some very big mental warfare. He said, I'm going to take the best performing champion you've had this split in Pike Game 1, and I'm going to destroy your team, and now I'm going to take your best performing champion of all time in Soraka, and, you know, we're going to play the 2v2 out.
This is the mental warfare game, you know? It's Chippies versus Biopanther, Cupcake versus Kuden, so across the board, multiple lanes, people taking it to each other.
And remind on Jace in the mid lane going into Triple's Orianna. Very impressive game number 1 performance from Triple. Remind did fall behind early and often, but Jace now, certainly a different feel, different kind of champion.
Yep. But I feel like in terms of early game from Mammoth, once again this time, Juves needs to be making things happen with his mid laner on the Jace. If this Jace ever falls behind, he is one of those high-risk, high-reward champions, and if he does fall behind the curve, it's very hard to deal with a very standard front-to-back composition like the Direwolves have selected, so he fell down in game number 1, definitely doesn't want to repeat that here.
So whether he can overcome that, as we are onto Summoner's Rift for game number 2, it's going to be Mammoth on the blue side, Direwolves with their 1 win on the red side, and we are joined by Vicarious, coach of Mammoth, and I want to kick it off with back-to-back weeks now. You guys have seemed to start it a little bit slow. And towards the end of game 1, it actually looked like it was starting to improve. The calls were getting better. What are you trying to do to, you know, reset the team after, you know, slow starts like that?
I think our team, in general, we just sort of warm up a bit later than the other teams do. So there isn't really much like where we're like, oh guys, we're falling behind. Our team morale's not that good. It's like, I don't think that like really happened with us. Basically, we just understand that, all right, guys, game 1 was sort of a weaker performance than usual, or you know, we're kind of used to that a few times. But yeah, we're just ready to bounce back every single time.
Yeah, and in a similar vein, I want to talk about a player specifically. We asked Sharp in the interview earlier, Biopanther versus Chippies. Now in the reverse, like, how did he feel coming in today? Did it mean more against the old team?
It definitely means a bit for Chippies.
Yep.
But we've been reminding each other that let's not like take personal emotions into the game because that affects the gameplay.
Yep.
All right, cool. As we see Shern just go for a bit of a drive-by in mid lane. We'll also put a ward down. However, we'll Remind able to dodge that gank. And the other thing I want to mention is, you know, Chippies versus old team, sure, but Mammoth versus Direwolves in a situation where Direwolves have been undefeated for such a long time. Is it a tough mental week going into someone like the Direwolves overall, not just for Chippies, who's obviously ex-teammates?
I mean, Direwolves is just a tough opponent, and like every single week, whether it's Direwolves, whether it's any other team, we do the same preparation. We won't be like, you know, they've been undefeated. Let's do let's just expect to be playing passively to lose. Like that just can't happen.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and best of luck in this game.
Thank you.
Of course, that's Vicarious, head coach of Mammoth. Juve's going to go for a bit of a cheeky drive-by onto a Scuttle Crab, as well now as the Raptor camp.
And we did see that interesting pathing, Schönfire, as you mentioned during the interview, just ran it straight through middle lane there, maybe taking a bit too much advice from the couch in their segment, and walks through. Pillars Remind, so he has to back away, and he had priority in the matchup. He was trying to look to bully out Triple, but immediately does get super annoyed by the fact that he is a jungler in his lane when he is level 1. There's no ability to counter there, but that did mean that Schönfire now goes back towards bottom side, clears out his jungle, did his red buff, and now with the combat advantage, he's looking to bully Juves away from his.
Yeah, tries to pull pillar Juves back towards his mid laner. However, good body slam gets him over it now. They are just meeting at this red buff.
Yeah, in terms of the rotation from the bottom wave, actually, Schönfire is now just in melee range of Juves. I have Sauron.
Oh, I was going to say Juves didn't actually proc his Aftershock there. Still has a Smite charge available if he wants to get some health back, but Shern might have won this bully war.
Yeah, absolutely. Trundle, one of the best champions at tanking out a buff like this. It's going to be a Smite fight at the back end. Juves looking for the buff, but he might just die.
Yeah, gets the buff, will body slam away, so Juves comes out ahead.
100% the victor in that situation. Both of his lanes on the bottom side were getting shoved in. Kunin does well to roam up initially. He can leave a Karthus with Smite, who's very safe, especially against a lane like Swain, like the Soraka. Sure, Soraka's really not going to do a lot in terms of contesting you, but this is the second visit to the middle lane.
Certainly is. Remind turns around, does some big damage, actually gets the Smite out. Does he punt him back towards the turret? Flashes on him, however. First blood for Shern.
Disaster for Remind. He could have just flashed away immediately, but looked for the all-in. Burns both of his summoners onto the jungler. That's the golden rule there. Yeah, if you can kill him, you get the advantage, but you do not trade with a jungler, and now Triple has barrier, has flash, everything up and available, and he's going to lose the wave as well.
It is the shortened death timer, so he will get back a little bit earlier than he would have as we see top lane. A little bit more bullying, but I think he thought he could hit Shern back into the turret. One turret shot would have changed that.
And of course, it is a barrier. It's not a heal. It's not the usual defensive summoner from the mid laner, so there's nothing Triple could do. Started off, I think, with the ball on his head, so there wasn't a shield that was going to go onto Shernfire either. So really, nothing left in the backside. Silence actually interrupted the channel of the Harpoon, so Kunin got to throw nothing, got ripped back and then rooted to the Swain-Soraka matchup. You kind of see the effectiveness there.
I like it. King now going to start pushing back out. However, Mash is doing fairly well, still has both of the potions available, as Shern will just take himself a Scuttle Crab.
Because normally you see a Swain in the bottom lane paired with something with CC.
Aggressive.
Like an alley, like a Pike, things like that have the CC to start something off. But this time with just a straight up healer, but you see in this situation they're looking for the CC from Swain to start it off and then follow up with the Soraka. We did see for a brief moment, I want to talk about Ghost Horror on this patch. The fact that it's been changed to now be placeable. So what happens is you walk into a bush, after a short channel, I think it's maybe 1 second, your trinket actually gets replaced. So it's not like you have to avoid walking into different bushes because you know it's going to move every single time. You get to pick and choose where you want to place the vision.
It was very counterintuitive when it first came out, because you had to, you couldn't sweep certain brushes if it was up. Because it was just real weird. I like the change.
Yeah, I absolutely do as well, and I feel like more supports and more junglers are going to take it. Of course, it comes with a nerf to zombie wards, so you don't just get an extra ward that is clearable with a single auto attack, but is just existing for all of time on the back end of something you play. So you can't go very deep. I think the banana bush around the red buffs, deep side of both junglers, are the best example, where a lot of wards get placed there that don't get cleaned out for a very long time. There's none in this situation, but zombie ward meant that you would just have vision there for the entirety of the game unless someone checks. So now you only get wards of clearing enemy vision, which I think makes a lot more sense. So in the middle tree of domination, now there's actually different thought processes that go into it. One's not just strictly better than the others.
So we see another 12 CS lead building now for Triple in the mid lane. Certainly having a very good performance this week. You see Juice trying to hand over the blue buff to Remind. However, Mundo as well as Trundle heading in.
Will be a little too late to contest this one, but they might just find themselves onto a Jace here. Pillar will be in range if they continue chasing, but with Kunin missing from the bottom lane on the Pike, they don't want to commit too hard.
Yeah, I think as well as the fact that Juice was able to head around, that would have been a 2v3 in no time. And you're running through choke points that Gangplank Ultimate is just specifically designed to shut down.
Yep. Super annoying there, and I feel like Direwolves in both games this set, game number 1, it was top lane. They had the Nocturne, they had the Pike, and they were like, Chippies, it's your time to lose lane. Like, this is your game plan for the rest of time. You just have to deal with multiple members being up here. This time it looks to be Remind, but there's going to be an early contest over the air, Drake.
You see they turn around onto this one. Very nice pillar will stop the body slam. Juves does not flash, was actually silenced, and that will be the continued fight.
Yeah, just an easy rip back from King. The CC lands and Juve still has his flash, but couldn't use anything to get out there, so Dragon goes over very early. Mash on the bottom side has to respect it, so he can't even shove in the wave, and Direwolves once again just take everything.
And another kill for Shern. Means that he's now 2-0-0. Looking for bottom lane right now will be Mash, who has to burn the flash.
Flashes very early. I'm honestly surprised if the Never Move doesn't land. Shernfire doesn't really want to be tanking up the turret.
Maybe no ult available for King? I don't think they had the damage.
Yeah, maybe didn't know where Cupcake was. Maybe with the heals from Soraka, you could have potentially dove that turret, anything like that. But I feel like as a Karthus, you're just going to clean them up on the back end with your ulti in your zombie form anyway.
Gangplank ultimate, your ultimate when you're a zombie. I think that was a little bit too safe, and that is probably the only criticism we've had for Mash, is when does he play a little bit more aggressive? He seems to be a very safe laner. That's big chunk damage coming out. Kunin actually just gets deleted.
And that's the combo once again. The rip back with the Never Move into the silence. You get rooted up in the back end of that one, and they actually get a kill this time. no ability to flash away, and Dire will just play around the silence so well. Mash now flashless underneath his turret.
Yeah, however, Shern taking massive damage already. Juves is heading down. They go for the body slam onto him. Level 6 will be there. That is the ultimate use from Cupcake. However, even with the flash over the wall, he is going to fall down, is he? No, he doesn't. He lives on like 2 HP. Cupcake with the heal.
Barely with the heal from Soraka, and the pot's ticking over the course of the fight. Just lives by the skin of his teeth, and Mash is going to be pretty upset with that one. Biopanther actually looking to get aggressive. Chippy's having to flash away.
Yeah, Biopanther would ignite him. And meanwhile, bottom lane, Juves goes back in for another gank. Does this land? No, it does not. Throws it wide and not very handsome.
King with a fancy feat there, baits him into hooking to the right. Thought he was going to juke once more, and unfortunately,
you don't juke,
that
you dodge.
Sucks. It sucks so much as a hook champion when like they're juking right the entire time, and then you eventually throw it right, and they just don't juke at all. Makes you look pretty stupid as your hook goes super wide, so ultimately is safe in the bottom side.
Pretty much CS even everywhere. So this game is just the 3 kills that are the advantage right now.
Yep.
See Cupcake looking for something here onto Triple, who will pick himself up a blue buff. Hook once again will go wide. Still has not got his iron.
Absolutely, and nothing has happened successful. Actually, that was a big EQ from the Jace. Goes back and finishes most of his balk, so now has the armor pen to deal with an Orianna, but Juves hasn't been able to find things early once again in this matchup. Trundle was the one to influence the mid lane, was pressuring him around from the Scuttle Crabs, had priority on the bot side, pressuring his red buff. Did well to secure that one, but hasn't had the early game impact that you normally expect from Juves, especially on a champion like this Gragas, and his lanes are suffering for it.
And Juves was a side lane master on this champion. Would do one buff into a gank nearly religiously. People were very aware that that was his play style. Would try and get early advantages and then just, start team fights on Gragas. He doesn't really need items to do what he does best.
Back in the day when Flares was Sin's top laner and they were playing the gauntlet against Chiefs, against us, he was just level 2 ganking top with a Fizz up there, but this time doesn't fight. But Biopanther doesn't actually kill the barrel before it dies, but baits Chippies into hitting it early. It's a fun little mini game between the two where Chippies knows you want to auto attack it and tries to bait you into autoing it and then being able to blow it up in the back end. Unfortunately, picks wrong this time.
And it was very interesting that Biopanther running the spellbook was able to burn the flash out of Chippies. Maybe caught him watching the other lane. However, this game Chippies has done much better at just farming up. And you can see right now that Kuden has taken the advice to heart and has gone for a little bit of a roam.
Yep. Goes for the early Mobies as well. So Juves sees the Darkstar Orianna ball and then ultimately just walk away. Chippies actually hold that. It's
going to be Juves having the body slam away again. Hook misses one more time.
As you mentioned, did have to blow the flash earlier against the Ignite from Biopanther. Of course, has that spellbook, but this time without the Nocturne, without the Pike rotating up, the fact that he has pressure from the other lanes means that he's having a much better time. Unfortunately, the inverse is now happening. Mash has left 2v1 underneath his turret, and this is an annoying lane to deal with underneath the turret. Soraka, one of the few supports that can poke you and is very safe underneath the turret because of all that sustain. Swain as well, if a rip lands, we've seen the silence come through and there's certainly kill potential between the two. So every time Kuden does leave, it means that Mash is up in levels. He's level 9 to level 8, but he's just struggling to pick up every single wave. He's only 10 or 9 CS behind, but unfortunately just falling ever so slightly behind the curve.
And the thing is that level 9 to level 8 won't mean all that much, but if it's level 10 to level 11 and they get a team fight, that's when it becomes impactful. Cupcake actually takes roughly 20% of his health from a Skittle.
Yep. It absolutely hurts. And he's gone defensive as well. He hasn't gone for like a boot upgrade. He's gone for the Ruby Crystal to try and finish the early Sightstone. That's actually a very nice slow, but silence comes through and once again just cancels all the aggression. The Harpoon channel is stopped right there and Kuden can't follow up.
Yeah, meanwhile, mid lane Shern going to go in again onto Remind. He has no choice but to run out of the lane. Does he flash forward? No, he punches Shern back. He does go forward, gets the kill, and now looking to turn around onto Shern. Very nice kiting so far, and that is a good slow field being put down. Gragas will start heading up the river. However, Remind has to turn back around and killing spree for Shern.
And time number 2 is absolutely the charm here for Remind. He gets the pick off, and unfortunately for Triple, a bit of miscommunication. The Soraka ulti comes through late, so absolutely didn't save him on the back end of that one. Schönfire able to answer, so despite Remind trading, he's still trading negatively across the board. Schönfire has just ran into mid lane time and time again. Unfortunately for him, Juves is just going to pick up this wave, as we do see this one. Very nice pillar to lock him against the wall. Remind had to pick between two bad options. Very nice to flash over the Shockwave and kill the Orianna immediately. And as you talked about before, priority in the bottom side means that Remind just trying desperately to run towards the Gragas, trying to run towards his bottom lane, but just can't quite make it.
I think if there was a better Gangplank ultimate from Chippies, he lives. He dropped it directly onto as a hook actually is on this time. That's going to be Ignite down. Is the Execute going to come across? He will just go golden, and he's getting health back.
Oh.
Now he'll flash away, and they're all underneath it. They get the Silence Field down. Mash, what are you doing? You can't hold it in the middle of the lane. Now Triple is here. We'll get ulted back. Juves, very nicely done. However, Shern continuing to actually run forward. Will get body slammed around. No ultimate for Juves means it, for Shern means he is very squishy. Eventually, he will not fall down. He actually gets the Triumph proc, and now Kunin by himself is just stuck between a rock and a hard place, and that is 3 kills.
And that almost looked like the first good thing to happen to Mammoth this game, but ultimately the sustain from the Swain. King buys just so much time. Cupcake with the heals, they just live for so incredibly long, and Direwolves trade back so well. Mid turret does go down in the midst of that. Jace was left alone, but just losing across the board here to Direwolves.
Might actually take 2 turrets, so as we take another look at this one.
Kunin, very nice hook, and Mash, unfortunately, tries to ulti in the back end of this one, and the silence comes up clutch once again from Cupcake to cancel that. Churnfire just eats him, and King actually snipes for the contest on the kill. This is a very nice cast from Juice. Puts Orianna at such a great distance away, but Trundle is so tanky, has shields from Orianna, has heals from the Soraka, so barely just does live on the backside. Triple misses the ulti, so he lives for a little bit longer, but there's just nothing Kunin can do at this point.
Yeah, as soon as Shern lives there, there's just, as you said, nothing they can do. Mid lane turret took a lot of damage at the same time. Bottom lane turret fell down. It is still only 2,000 gold, so this game's certainly not looking as dire as game number 1 was.
Map flip is coming through for Mammoth here as they actually rotated towards the top side. I'm not sure which direction they took, whether they went through the jungle or up the river, because up the river means they were absolutely spotted out by that pink ward that they have yet to clean out. I feel like the fact that Cupcake is checking the lane bush with a Q means that they know something's up and they're aware of the threat up here on the top side.
Very nice accelerated shot block onto King. It has started to do some damage. However, Juve's catching mid lane wave is certainly not what you want your jungler doing at this stage of the game.
Maybe if you're a Nocturne, maybe if you're a Vi. But unfortunately on the Trundle, he's actually going for a damage builder. Has the Phage into a dagger.
He's going Trinity Force.
Yeah, he is.
That's a confident build.
Yes, 100%. He's got a Cinder Hulk, but when you get 4 kills, you're like, look, maybe I can do some damage. He has a full tank Mundo with a Soraka, so if you take Trundle out of the equation, your single tank comp is actually pretty beefy. Maybe
Trundle still shouldn't build Trinity
leans
Force.
into the decision, but
You're not going to convince me, Bryce.
obviously just feeling it, and I'm not going to try and convince you it's the best build, because it's obviously not, but
However, Hook is on here
fun.
onto Cupcake, but they don't continue it. In fact, Kunin has to dash away.
Oh, they don't even get the ward as well, because a Trinity Force Trundle is running up through the jungle there. Rift Herald does get started, but the contest is absolutely here for Direwolves.
And Shern says, thanks for the leash. That is a very nice pillar. Good silence field as well. Kunin's down to about 50% health. Accelerated shock blast coming in, and we already mentioned the poke comp, but Shern will keep the tether for now. And in fact, it's just dodging back and forward, saying, will we, won't we, over the wall. Very nice hook. Big damage coming out onto King. However, Rip back will give him 5 souls now. Shern actually gets a nice pillar onto Juves again, and they will be able to pick themselves up. The Rift Herald shock blast onto the back line is huge. Shern actually going to fall down very low, and that will be the ultimate from Mash, potentially picking up a couple of kills. It is 1, and now the barrel is there. Shut down as well for Chippies. They continue the chase onto King. Cupcake very low, however, now Biopanther is here. And this is just the repeat of what we saw. Or is it? Because he's going very low. That is a nice flash away from Biopanther. Rip forward means that Mash will eventually... No, he doesn't even fall down. Doesn't get underneath the turret. Biopanther still looking for it. Hook is not on. And it will just be a 2 for 2.
And Cupcake is just so goddamn annoying on the back end of these fights. Everybody living with a sliver of HP. Just barely dodged the assassination coming from Kunin on the bike as Chippies...
Goes in, actually flash forward. Very nice parlay. One more will do it. Can he get the speed up? Goes for the kegs and cannot find it. Accelerated shock blast with a flash there for a Remind. They just can't buy a kill.
Oh, and every single time, the members living on a sliver of HP, blinking health bars. We see King. This started off with a very nice hook over the wall, and at this point, the GP ulti comes back. Churnfire, they do ultimately get the Rift Herald, but Remind lands a very nice EQ. Huge chunk of damage, and the Execute flashed away from Cupcake means that he lives. That means that Schönfire survives, or actually, sorry, he doesn't survive, but Triple with the stopwatch, and King is healthy enough on the backside that they don't get immediately cleaned up by the Karthus. And at this point, it looks like the Biobend is going to come back in, rinse and repeat from last time, but unfortunately, the damage is just not there. But Mammoth, they just commit so much, and Cupcake, so incredibly low, keeps King up, keeps Biopanther up, and they just can't clean up a kill.
I think at a certain point, if you mash, you got to get under that turret.
Yep.
You got an undying passive. However, you see right now, Biopanther and Chippy's having a little bit of a tussle. Now it will be actually Juves joining the fray.
Going to contest as Kuden finds himself with a Triforce Trundle in his face, so does the right thing and backs away immediately. Mash 1 versus 3, struggling to hold this turret very low.
Now he goes forward, will try and go into the undying passive in front of someone, but already Juves just still heading forward. Biopanther is there as well. Good cast will push them back. Actually, the flash coming out of both junglers means that Juve will fall. Hook is onto Biopanther one more time, but they just cannot do damage.
But Remind is playing Jason. He's in the top side. No TP, has the Ignite only, so they just commit to trying to defend this outer turret, but Direwolves have every single member here. Biopanther doesn't have to answer that wave for such a long time. Missing Ping just went onto the Jace from Direwolves, but they're continuing the dive.
Yeah, it certainly is. Shern underneath the turret again, getting the heals. Flash forward out of Triple, will land the shockwave, will blow up his previous top laner. Now King flaps his wings, says, I believe I can fly, but just zones away Kuden, and they'll take mid lane turret number 2.
And that's 2 turrets, as you mentioned. 1 outer, 1 inner, multiple picks, and Reminders now at the play. Ever so late, as Direwolves are already walking away towards the dragon, spawning in about a minute. They want to get those recalls off, and Mammoth, they're just not committing to anything. They try and defend, but without one of their members, they try and fight it. They bring Remind down, but it's just way too late. Mash, very nice pillar here from Schönfire once again, means that he just gets immediately blown up. Schönfire, despite having a Triforce, the fact that he's a level up over Juves and 3 levels up over Kuden means that he's in no threat of dying here. There's no damage around. Mammoth, they're actually trying to sneak a Baron.
They certainly are. Remind, of course, Mash, of course, has the smite. They sent Juves bottom lane to try and fake it out. However, I believe this was done last week, so Direwolves wise to it.
They're just not tanky, so they have that one opportunity. As soon as the pink ward goes over the wall, Direwolves know exactly what's going on, so they do just back away. Silver linings here for Mammoth. Mash just picked up his first item, so is scaling on the Karthus. Chippy's working on his second. But their front line is just absolutely not there.
You're in a positive Paul kind of mood today.
You have to. You absolutely have to. In this situation, you look at the player cams, Mammoth looks so disappointed in the track record of this game so far. Game number 1 at the end, Chippies was looking a little bit worse for wear.
Chippies is 2,000 gold up.
He is.
It's a lot. For someone that's down in CS.
Yep.
Klepto is a fun and interesting tool.
I thought you were going to say fun and interactive, because I think both are
yeah,
pretty
that's true as well.
Mammoth, they couldn't sneak a Baron, but they can sneak a Scuttle Crab.
Permanent vision always good in that situation. Problem is even though he's 2,000 gold up, I still don't think he beats the Mundo 1v1.
Yep. Probably not. Problem is also the Trundle that went for the Triforce is now 6-1, so went from 4 kills to 6, is only getting stronger and stronger. It actually looks pretty beefy at this point. So
I would argue that is nearly a waste of 4,000 gold. So I would say the game is even.
Okay. That'd be a pretty brave argument. I feel like you're going to just be chomping at Juves. Like, you're going to hit him with the ulti, and then you're just going to immediately one-shot the Gragas. He's already very far behind, doesn't even have a single item, but I guess you're correct. He's not going to be hitting a Karthus or a Jace GP anytime soon.
I mean, if he gets onto those kind of people,
yep,
they're not winning because of items.
Yep.
They're winning because that's just a really horrible position to be in if you are a Karthus or a Jace.
I would agree.
And I can't get my head around it. But you got to respect the fact that Shern is willing to go for it. Ooh. Once again, Kuden will just stick him with the dagger. We'll dash away.
Holds on to the dash nicely there. Kind of playing the bait game between the two. Killer comes out first, so Kuden can answer. Hook lands once again, but Schönfire absolutely doesn't care.
Juves once into the back line, actually gets a very nice cast. However, Gangplank ultimate being used. Cupcake goes very low. Another rip back onto Triple. He's taken a lot of health. Cupcake actually has to use the barrier. Now trying to get away. That's one keg down, but Shern hits it.
But once again, this is just so disjointed from Mammoth. Remind is not in on the play. He's actually looking for the pick onto King. Will he find it?
No, won't be able to get it. Triple will have to use the Zhonya's Hourglass, but Kuden does have the ult available. Can he get some executes? Over the wall he goes. Looking nice flash away out of Cupcake. Now Kuden will fall down, and that is a 2 for nothing.
But the miscommunication is there. Juve's landed a very nice engage in the choke. You see Chippies on the Gangplank, Mash on the Karthus. They can win a fight in that situation if they can kill the Soraka early and get onto the carries. If you have a Jace flanking, he lands an accelerated shock blast onto the carries running away, then that almost looks like a winning fight, but he's just chasing a Swain, looking for the 1v1, falls down again, and they just don't get anything.
I mean, he did keep King away from the fight for a very long time.
But he had
was
priority.
3-0-5.
He was pushing King towards Tribush, and at that point, you just walk down the river. You walk to the fight, and King has to go the long way, has to take the long winding road, and you have the short track, so...
Yeah. See, we're looking at different... I kind of think that at a certain point, Mash, you
Has to
don't
flash
build
forward.
a mana item on this champion because when you're dead, you don't need the mana. I think at a certain point, you just got to get in there. Just put your face in it.
Because Cupcake burnt the barrier pretty early, had to flash away very late, held it over the course of that fight, but he was stuck in a very precarious position. You have to make that decision to all commit onto the Soraka, otherwise we've seen what happens if he just gets heals off on the Trundle, on the Mundo, things like that.
Yep.
As I do need to point something out, Jake. Shernfire, he's gone back, finished his Triforce, and also has a Zeal. Because he had the Zeal earlier. I feel like he's been building old school Triforce instead of the Stinger, and is now like, oh,
Phantom Dancer.
what am I going to put this one into? Because that's... We were saying...
Kizon actually pulls him over the wall, but it looks like they want this one. You can see Mash in a lot of trouble and still going backwards. Flashes out of the team fight. King now going to look to continue. Cast backwards. Mash just can't get out. That's another kill for the Direwolves.
And you see how quickly Shernfire is attacking on the Trundle. Triforce plus a Zeal just instantly chomps onto the Karthus, and he drops down immediately. All 5 members here now. Kuden looking for a bit of a flank, but Mammoth are going to have to do some miracles to save this one.
Yeah, he's just trying to pull the creep wave. However, nothing really happening. King takes half of his health. Very nice Gangplank ultimate. Damage coming across onto Shern. However, Cupcake is just playing the Wambulance at the back of the fight. Biopanther does get himself another barrel. And Juves gets stunned up, is taking a little bit of damage. However, they are corralling them into the base. Shern is very low. Cupcake is there as well. Can they get anything?
Chippies.
Shockwave onto Chippies. No damage coming out. King goes forward, gets the phase rush proc. That is another big accelerated shock blast, but still no one has touched Cupcake. Into the fight goes Remind. Eventually, they're going to have to start this one up. Triple is Mash trying to get in, does not have the flash available. Already a double kill for King. Finally, he marches forward, but it is just not working. Triple kill for King. That will be the ultimate coming out. Shutdown is there. You can see Triple's trying to dodge out of Kuden, but they just aren't helping. Juve, Shern underneath the turret will get another Triumph proc. Kuden, do you have the ultimate available? He does, goes for it, misses it. No flash available. Shutdown somehow happens. I don't know what is going on, Bryce.
How did Juves get the kill on the backside? Kuden just trying to stop the recall coming out of Biopanther. But that's absolutely disastrous. They just don't have the tools to fight. Juves the entire time didn't have Cask, and this is against a lineup we've said with so much sustain. So if you can't pull the trigger on a play immediately, you just get stuck in this sort of situation where they're looking for the play, but Direwolves just turn it around. Kuden is just so split off, doing nothing in the backside. That's a very nice EQ from the Jace, and a stopwatch from Chippies on the GP buys a little bit of time in the backside, but Remind goes in, gets baited by the stopwatch, by the heals from the Soraka, and there's just no way they're winning the fight at this point. Cupcake falls low, Triple zones away the snipe attempt from Kuden, and at this point they've just lost.
Yeah, they certainly have. Cupcake with the barrier wasn't able to survive, so they did get 2 kills back.
Look how fast he's attacking.
What kills him here?
It has to be minions plus a turret shot, and then minions and another turret shot. Okay. So Juve's got an 850 gold shutdown, and then he got a 450 gold shutdown. So for a man with no items, now has a Spirit Visage and a Giant's Belt, so got a whole lot tankier.
Cupcake would have caught a sight of Kuden there. However, has yet to see Juves. See whether he does face check him, because there are multiple members there. Another Fire Drake, that's 4 dragons. Over to the Direwolves.
That absolutely feels good. Kuden is, instead of going for the Frozen Hardened to Spirit Visage, which we saw Cupcake build last time, and most Pikes go for, it's the kind of competitive Pike build, is just going straight for Cleaver, wants that damage, wants to put the carry pants on. Struggling to find those picks initially, but...
Yeah, look, I think that we can very safely say that items right now are not the issue.
Yep. If you're this far behind, then maybe building damage to try and snipe a kill is probably the right answer.
He's only 5,000 gold in about 28 minutes.
It's not the biggest gold
biggest
lead,
yeah.
It's just a scary lineup when you have this like 0-0 Mundo with a Soraka in the back pocket. He's not dying anytime soon. The Trundle has a Triforce, and I wonder what he builds the Kindle Gem into. Does he go like Spirit Visage, or does he go for the fun build and go Black Cleaver?
Surely you go Spirit Visage.
Like surely, especially with a Soraka.
Juves has been caught out again. Has been ulti. That's the pillar as well. Will go over the wall. However, Biopanther goes onto Mash and just eats him for breakfast. Mash might have to burn the ultimate here just for something. Redemption is stacked up, and now Kuden will take half of his health as well. Mash didn't ult, and that will mean Baron.
Pings onto the Baron pit, so they know exactly what they want to do. Mammoth. Juves is 2 levels down, so in terms of contest, not really
easy
here for a smite fight, but Kuden looking for a flank. Maybe they just want the engage.
Potentially they just use Kuden's ultimate to try and go for it. Shern, once again, leaves himself in the pit and trying to solo this one out. He's going very low again. Shern, what are you doing?
Why is he sticking around? The heals are there from Cupcake, but it's going to lose
Biopanther now is in trouble as well. Gets cast back into the team. They're now looking for 1,000 health. Juice body slams into a wall. Kuden is stuck between 5 members of the Wolfpack. And now Chippy's Remind and Juves are on the wrong side. Rip back is there. King gets himself another kill. Flashing forward now, looking for Kuden as well. He's flapping his wings very impressively, but will not pick up the kill.
And I feel like at this point I have to apologize to Legacy, because they're the team I make the most fun of in terms of setting up around a Baron. But this is 2 games in a row. Direwolves have had a huge gold lead and honestly just look like they're trolling, setting up around the big purple worm. That was so sketch. They do eventually get it, but it's not how they wanted to play that. Now just looking for the end.
You certainly are. That is going to be Mash finally flashing forward. Will go into Zhonya's, but already a Nexus turret is going down. That will be the ultimate burn. That will be the Zhonya's Hourglass used as well. Biopanther uses his stopwatch, so he should be able to get out. And Shern has just had enough for League of Legends today. He will once again focus down the Nexus and secure all 3 points for the Direwolves.
And from last week, losing to Bombers, dropping that game, it's very good for the Wolfpack to come in and secure absolutely everything here in week number 7. Pretty quick game number 2 overall compared to how slow they played game number 3. Shernfire obviously hasn't learned his lesson from hurting his wrist playing basketball. Wants another piece of the action, but to get the W. What is King doing?
Rubbing his tummy. Maybe he's hungry. Maybe, you know, Dave Harris or someone from Guinevere Capital guaranteed a good meal if it was a quick 2-0.
Maybe they did.
I like that. I like food bribes in esports.
Have I ever been bribed with food? I feel like I haven't. Maybe I'm missing out.
I think you guys had the Hurricanes tradition.
That is true. That is true. Direwolves more of a Cranides team, I think.
They certainly are.
Certainly are, as yeah, all 3 points, pretty dominant in both games, barring the Baron. You know, game number 1, they lost it, was Smite stolen away by Juves. Game number 2, they eventually got it, but looked super sketch across the board, but all 3 points they're absolutely happy with.
And I think at a certain point now, we have to start questioning the peaks and troughs of Mammoth. Because when they look good, they very much look like they are a top contender. But today, something was just not working at every stage of the game. Whether it's communication, whether it's, I don't know, Juves didn't look in the mirror, whether it's the flight starting to affect the players. Something just seems to be not clicking.
And I feel like today was Remind's worst week. The Aurelion Solid's the first time we saw it played in competitive this split, I think. And it's the first time we've seen him play it. And had a super rough game, really never found an avenue in. Second game on the Jace, Shernfire just decided level 2, like no to your laning phase, and then really didn't find a way back in. Sure had some nice like shock blast on the back end of a fight, but that's not going to win you the game. It just didn't have the impact that it needed.
Yeah, it certainly didn't. And against my better judgment, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to throw it over to Nick and Dave to break this game down further.
How dare you?
Thanks, guys. Good to see some expert analysis back here, courtesy of...
I'm excited.
Yeah?
Because I feel like, here's the thing, a lot of the high-level players, a lot of the high-level play gets represented. You don't hear from the ship players, and I think it's about time we get some...
And a lot of the best strategies in pro play are built and designed in Bronze and Silver 5.
Now, what would you have done in that game?
So it's a great question. I think that it was looking really good for a while, but I think what Kuden, obviously he's the pro player, but what he could have considered doing once it started to look bad is he could have sold all of his items and just bought 6 boots of swiftness.
Oh, yeah.
And then just spam GG if you go /FF every 10, 15 minutes as well, more often, ideally, then you can do a forfeit.
Yep.
That's also really helpful. And then just make sure that you can say you're going to report everyone.
Look, I think that's probably
Put
a
the
very
fear
good
in them.
option. But if you are worried, if you feel like you can't ultimately put the fear in them and you need to do something else, then ultimately, again, your thing is all about ultimately people are going to follow you. My thing is about how I don't want any blame or responsibility. So I would just say lag, and I would just constantly
that's
type
clever.
lag in the chat over and over, or like my ping sucks and not my fault lag, and then people will know that your bad play is not because of you. It's because of the
But
lag.
don't show your ping.
No.
Just keep saying it's
God,
bad.
No, just constantly say ping, bad, lag, and then jitter around a little bit to really sell the lie. But of course, there are people who know much more about what they should be doing in League of Legends, so we're going to throw it back to the desk.
Thank you. However, we are joined by triple mid laner of the Direwolves. Another clean 2-0 for you guys. Congratulations on the victory.
Thank you very much.
Now, I have been throwing around for a couple of weeks now that you are the best player in the OPL.
Oh, really?
I think you're in career form. How do you feel like your game has elevated?
No, to be honest, I felt kind of shaky today on Orianna. It's like a champion that just came back into meta recently. So, I mean, I'm not just trying to be humble. I actually don't think I'm the best player right now, but
Who do you think is?
it's good to hear.
Like name and shame. Who? Oh, it's not even shame at this point. Who is the best player?
Shern is rank 1 and 2, so
Okay.
he's undoubtedly the best player.
Okay, I can get behind that. You talk about Orianna. Like, what do you think of the mid lane meta? We're seeing a resurgence. Last night, I watched a Xerath versus Zia game in the LCK. Obviously, that's an old patch, but like, why are the mages coming back? Like the traditional, like Orianna, those sort of things.
I actually don't know. Like, meta shifts are weird. It just kind of happens, Like, one champion comes in, then the counter for that champion comes in. So it's just like things come and go. Yeah.
Yeah, goes around in a circle.
And with the 3 points, you guys are now, I think, 8 points, something around that margin ahead of your next competition. Is it a case that you guys are just still sticking week to week and trying to improve? Is it now, second half of the split, this is where it kicks into gears and you guys are ramping up for Melbourne Esports Open?
Definitely can't get complacent, Watching, like, Chiefs throw their lead in the past splits, they've thrown their first place many times now, so we can't get complacent. Still take it week by week, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
And I want to ask week by week, of course. Last week, the loss to Bombers. Like, what did you guys learn for that coming into this series versus Mammoth today? Like, you obviously didn't want to drop that game, only got the 2 points, but like, what was the difference here today?
I think it's closing out games, so I guess it's just our mid game, the seesaw period of the game. Yeah, we're just focusing on that, and I feel like it sort of showed this series, but not really, because the first game, it was a bit hard to close out.
Yeah, and I mean, second game around the Baron was a little,
it was a
little bit scared. Can you walk me through what's going on? Because I think you guys are one of the better teams setting up around Baron, but today, like, the first one got stolen away. Schernfire dies in the pit. Game number 2. Like, Schernfire's a Triforce Zeal Trundle tanking it alone in the pit. Like, what actually happened?
Yeah, we don't actually have a way of turning in those team comps besides like Trundle Pillar or something. So it's pretty difficult. Same for first game. I only engaged like Vlad, so that's why.
Blame the comp. Blame
Sharp.
Blame the comp. I like that's a good strategy.
Fault.
And Vlad doesn't have much CC attached to it. I do want to talk about Direwolves as a whole, because you guys have been courageous with the roster changes that you have made. Fantic's out, Triple in. Now Chippy's out, as well as the fact that you brought in Biopath, a very young guy. This seems to be a more dynamic Direwolves, however. Biopanther's playing everything. King and Cupcake are playing everything as well. You're a very versatile player. Is that kind of the direction behind where the team's going? Just getting well-rounded players that can kind of play to any style?
I feel like it's just getting players that are easy to work with and are willing to grow. The right mindset. You want players that have similar views, like overall, and that's what I feel like Bio had and Chippy's doesn't have.
All right, cool. Well, thank you very much. Congratulations on picking up all 3 points. We will be back after the break with Order versus Legacy, and I'm going to go figure out how to speak. Turns around, does some big damage, actually gets the Smite out. Does he punt him back towards the turret? Flashes on him, however. First blood for Shern. Does he flash forward? No, he punches her back. He does go forward, gets the kill, and now looking to turn around onto Shern. Very nice kiting so far, and that is a good slow field being put down. Gragas will start heading up the river. However, Remind has to turn back around and killing spree for Shern. And they're all underneath it. They get the silence field down. Mash, what are you doing? Eventually, he will not fall down. He actually gets the triumph proc, and now Coonan by himself is just stuck between a rock and a hard place, and that is 3 kills. And they will be able to pick themselves up. The Rift Herald shock blast onto the back line is huge. Shern actually going to fall down very low, and that will be the ultimate from Mash, potentially picking up a couple of kills. It is 1, and now the barrel is there. Into the fight goes Remind. Eventually, they're going to have to start this one up. Triple is Mash trying to get in, does not have the flash available. Already a double kill for King. Finally, he marches forward, but it is just not working. Triple kill for King. Out and Shern has just had enough for League of Legends today. He will once again focus down the Nexus and secure all 3 points for the Direwolves.
So this was OPL Split 1 2018 Grand Finals, Direwolves vs Chiefs, where we came back from 0-2 down. We were on the edge of sweeping. It was 2-2. We've been fighting off our inhibs for like the last 10 minutes and barely scraping by the game. And then we finally got our chance to like do something proactive.
And this is Direwolves pulling the trigger, right? They know that this Elder is up. If they delay any longer, suddenly the trade is possible. TP coming out of Swiper. Triple's looking for a flank. He gets spotted out.
I just remember clearing a pink and just getting Skarner Thresh comboed into their backline.
Looking for a flank. He gets spotted out by the sweeper.
But now he has access to the backline. He goes and absolutely looks to blow them up.
At that point, I was like, yeah, this is cool. I was like 70%, so I thought I could go for a play. And I ended up just getting one shot by their team.
To blow them up. Very nice kite back.
Shern
and that will be Shern going into Bloblet form.
And then in this moment, I was just like, man, it's all over.
Hook onto King. However, Shern, big combo out of Cupcake. And now the fight is well and truly underway. And it looks like the Direwolves are absolutely rinsing the Chiefs.
I just remember seeing Calvin like flying in the sky like, Jesus. I just saw the AD carry, I saw the jungle, and I put them together. I dropped my locket, and then I was just like, wow, we won the fight. It felt like a miracle to me that we won, despite like my poor mistake in the 2-2 grand final. It's just like, I'll never forget that.
I reckon if you keep talking about mic check, then you'd get put on mic check.
If you don't speak enough, you don't get there, but if you only talk about it, then you get there.
That's the meta of mic check right here.
Yes.
My bones will brittle with your bread. Bread? I think that's what Trundle says. What? Bread? So he says something about bones and bread. Why is Trundle the bread guy? I don't know. It's like how Pantheon's a baker, you know? Like, maybe they own like a bakery together. I think I've solved League of Legends.
You've really read up on your lore, haven't you, Sam? Do you know our national anthem off by heart, Lucia?
I don't remember it.
You know the second verse to the anthem? You're talking about Australian anthem.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I don't know Australian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Australians, so let us rejoice for we...
Stop singing that. Abort. I need to pee like very often, but then sometimes I'm so busy with what I'm doing that like it's been like 4 hours and I haven't peed, but it doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean it's not there. Yeah.
So why are we talking about this again?
I'd like to thank everyone for flying Qantas, and if you're home, welcome home.
If you have an interconnecting flight, then welcome home with Qantas.
If your name is Simon Papa Markov, please report to aisle 7. We've got a little bit of a spillage. Vicky hasn't drank water in 3.5 years, and what he's done is he's vomited up his lungs.
Do you say Swiper? Because you say Swiper.
No, I say Swiper. Swiper, the Silver Surfer.
What is he talking about?
4 Fantastics, no? No, the 4 Incredible, the 4 Incredible. Silver Surfer's not even a part of them, he's an enemy. Oh, really? No, but like there is the fire guy and then there is the silver guy.
Nice. Clean game, good shit, boys.
Very clean game.
Yatta!
Nice. Welcome to the girlfriend club, boys. Welcome to the girlfriend club.
Dead.
Welcome to they're in that. Welcome to the girlfriend club. Welcome to the girlfriend club. Welcome to the girlfriend club. Let's go. Boys.
What was it?
Hey boys, let's all go to our girlfriends now. Let's go.